All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. I was enjoying seeing where everybody was from. This is so fun. Hello, children. Hello, young at hearts. My name is Leigh Ralston. I am representing Faber-Castell, USA today. It's another fun hour of learning here at my class. I am always super excited to teach you everything I know when it comes to my Kawaii Doodles. I have been drawing and I have been lettering. I have been I have turned being an artist into a career for the last 10 years. Okay, so let's just talk about a little bit of that brief history. I have always been a singer, la, la, la. So I was a singer. And then after my youngest child, she's not very young anymore, she is 11. But after she was born, I stopped singing. I retired from performing. And as an artist, I knew I needed an outlet. And that outlet was lettering and Kawaii Doodles. And today's class, we're going to do some Kawaii Doodles. So I will share with you everything, all the tips and the techniques that I have developed through the years. And we're going to have fun because it's almost back to school. I hope that you guys are excited because Rain and I are super excited that it's almost school time. So you can use all these doodles and drawings for your notebooks, personalize your I don't know, some of your tote bags or backpack, maybe, do some doodles. Just don't draw it in the wall. Okay, so that's not good. But anyways, I hope that you're excited. I'm excited. We're going to head over to the overhead camera and let's get this class started. Let's go. All right, so today we're going to go, hold on, so I can see you guys here. I will be using Faber-Castell's PITT Artist Pens. Now, if you don't have the PITT Artist Pens today, it's okay. But I do hope that this class will inspire you to say, oh, you know what? I really love these pens. So let's talk a little bit about these pens. Faber-Castell's PITT Artist, these are India ink, water-based India ink. These are waterproof once they're dry. So waterproof, which means you can use this with other water-based supplies. So you can use watercolor on top of your PITT Artist, and this is not going to smear and bleed. It will stay. So I love using these pens when I'm doing a lot of watercolor work because I know that this line art is not going to move. All right. Also, the black PITT Artist pen comes in with many different tips. It depends on you. What is it that you prefer? Do you prefer something more bold, much thicker lines? I can zoom in my camera also so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So let's talk about just the different tips. This is the medium. Okay, and then we have a chiseled. Actually, they do also have a soft chiseled. The chiseled is kind of like if you are looking at a font. In old times, they love using this for their old calligraphy. So chiseled has this square tip. So it looks really fun. You can create like straight lines like this, but you will always get like that square tip because of the square tip of the chiseled pen. Now, this is the medium. You just get simple stroke. You will always get consistent stroke, even though you apply pressure or no pressure. And then we have the fine. Let's start with the fine first. This is much smaller than the bold, than the medium. So this will have letter. So each tip will be represented. You can find this in the body of your pen. So that's the fine. And then you have an S, which I don't have in black right now. This is the super fine, so much thinner than the fine. This is pink. My favorite color is pink. Then you have the extra super fine, which is going to be much, much thinner than the rest of them. I think I love to use the extra super fine and super fine when I'm writing. But when I'm drawing, maybe when I'm doing some detailed, but not so much. Okay, the next is the 1.5, which is the bullet kind of like, if you see 1.5 in different pens, this is the bullet tip. All right. And then I have here the brush. This is my favorite one of all. I use this for my lettering, like when I'm doing some lettering, even with my drawings and my doodles, I really, really love using the brush pen. And then there's also a soft brush, which is over here. So this one is kind of like a brush where you can get thicker strokes like this, but it has a softer one, so it's really flexible. So it depends on how much pressure you're going to apply on your pen. This is where your stroke is going to be very different. And when I teach lettering, I always explain the many different types of pressure that you can use when you're lettering. But that also applies to when you're doing your drawings. So the way I draw things, let me just pull up any sample in here. See if I have some sample drawings that I have. So these are all drawings. If you notice, sometimes I have like simple lines like this, but sometimes I have where all my lines are like thin and thick together combined. So I have this little girl is drawing a YouTube logo. And then, so let's find some drawings. Also, these are my drawings that are turned into a stationery, into a sticker. And then, where's our drawings? So we have many different doodles, like this one. Okay, this is a perfect example. So if you notice this girl, it has like much thicker strokes on the side. I only used one pen, and that pen is the brush tip. Now, how did you get, sometimes it's like very, very thin like this over here, and sometimes it's thicker on this side, right? Thank you so much. That is because of how much pressure I apply on my pen. And that is how we're going to get different line of strokes, even though we're using just one pen. So when I talk about pressure, look at when you notice that if you're using a brush pen right now, notice if you really apply very, very light, and you go really light with your hand, you're going to get this thin line. So whether you're going like this, whether you're going down, if you apply really light pressure, you're going to get very thin stroke. Now, once I start applying pressure on my pen, and you're going to notice my brush tip over here is here. See, it's flexing like this, like that. This is when I apply pressure. So I get thicker strokes. So whether it is I am using or making a different shape other than a straight line, I can still get a thick stroke as long as I apply pressure. Now, when it comes to lettering, there's two basic rules. The downstroke, this is when you apply pressure, and upstroke is when you apply really light pressure. Now, the question is, even when I'm drawing, it still applies the same thing. Downstroke is every single time, oh, that sounded a bit weird. Downstroke is every single time I would draw a line towards me. So even in the circle, notice that when I drew this part over here, my direction is going towards my body. All right. And then every time I would go against me, away from me, this is when I would do the thin stroke. So downstroke is thicker line, and every time you would draw or make a line towards you, your upstroke would be very light pressure, and thin strokes is every single time you would draw something or write something away from you or away from your body. Now, I get this question, how about the lefties, right? Because we don't write the same way as you guys would write. Right? Because you're using your right hand and they use their left hand. And that's a very good question. Okay. So for example, I am a lefty. I am really not a lefty, and I'm really not good in writing with my left, but I have been practicing because I wanted to be relatable. I want to be able to teach you guys that are lefties also. So it's the same principle. So every time you would go down or towards you, this is when you will still apply your heavy pressure. And every single time you would go away from you, you lift your pen just a little bit and then start thinking like a feather. And look how crazy my lines are because I'm not a lefty. But notice that with practice, you can really do anything. But I don't know if I can start writing in with my left, but it's going to be hard. So again, downstroke every time you would draw towards you, and then light every time you would draw anything away from your body. So that's where your thin strokes are going to be. Okay, so before we get to the fun part of the actual drawing, I know you're excited, I'm excited too, but I want us to do a little bit of warm-ups. Now, we're not going to go do some jumping jacks here, okay? So warm-ups, when it comes to doodles, are just simple shapes, really simple shapes. Like start drawing circles for me, like small circle, medium, narrow, thin, like much bigger, wider, but start drawing in circles. So you can see sometimes sideways to the other side, but this is how I like to create my warm-ups first. Warm-ups are really important because this is where you're building your brain and your hand coordination. It's kind of like sometimes my brain tells me one thing and then my hand wants to do another thing because it didn't do any warm-ups whatsoever. So when I tell my brain to write and straight, but I didn't do warm-ups, sometimes they're like wiggly and things like that. So it's kind of like being an athlete. You really have to practice and warm up and stretch before you do any hard, what do you call those things when you're doing any sports or when you're working out, you stretch first. Okay, now, so once you're done doing your circles, do some lines for me, ones that goes from the bottom to top. Start practicing from the bottom to the top and then down, also downwards, upwards, go slanted from your right to the left, left to the right, try in thinner ones. Okay, so once you're done with your lines, do some wiggly lines for me this time, kind of like just like wave. Think of the wave, sometimes your waves are tighter, they're closer to one another, make them really big and stretched out like this, and try from kind of like building a scallop like this. So you're building like lots of McDonald's. And then, or M for Michael's, there you go, that will work too. Like a big W also. Here we go. All right, so when you're done with that, now what are the basic shapes do I like to draw and doodle? So as you notice my sketchbook, my notebook, I like to draw like simple shapes like this, stars, like dots, simple circles. See, it's super cute, but the notebook that I'm using is just a simple dot grid. The brand of this one is called Archer and Olive, but you can find lots of other notebooks, especially if you're just going to do a little bit of sketchbook and art journal. You just want something that has smooth surface of the paper. That's one thing that I only look for when I'm picking out new notebooks and new journals. I just love something that my paper is smooth, because when I'm using a brush tip, the paper, this is where the life of my pen is going to be up to the paper that I use, because you don't want to hurt your nib, your brush nibs. Okay, so try practicing some stars for now, like simple stars, much like wider. So different style, use your imagination, but not so much because we're just doing simple warm-ups like this. You're very welcome, Mel. All right. And then like, I don't know, like simple moons, like X plus, like that. But just, I practice with this because I kind of have to get that feel of how much pressure do I apply when I'm using a brushed pen, just because I love using a brush pen. Now, if you're just using a regular pen, regular marker, you don't have to worry about your you don't have to worry about your pressure there. Okay, so it's just because I love using a brush tip. These are the things that I want to make sure I warm up first before I start going into my cute doodles. Okay, so back to school. When you think about back to school, what do you really think? Moms over here, you know, we're thinking of projects, what we can do for our kids, maybe personalize. You don't always have to just work on like vinyl projects. Use your own handwriting. This is special, you know. Experiments, that's correct. Cards, you know, first day of school cards, lunch letters. I love doing that for my daughter. We would exchange something. She would leave something for me in the morning, and then I'd leave something in the lunchbox and things like art. I love it. Teacher gifts, exactly. So simple cards, your notebooks, the cover of your notebooks. You might want to do a little bit of change in there. You want to add some doodles. And so everything that we're going to do today is going to be something that you can use in these projects because it's just plain doodles, you know, alarm clock. Oh my goodness, pencils. I'm not looking forward to the alarm clock, ruler, all that. Okay, so let's start with a very simple one. Like, how about we start with a ruler? Well, how do we do a ruler? Something straight, okay? This paper right now I'm using a Rhodia pad. You can get this from Michael's, in your local Michael's, or you can get this online also. I love using the Rhodia because it has smooth surface, and there's also a dot grid. And dot grid is really helpful when you need some help, if you're doing like rectangles and all that. So you have like guidelines. And I love that the dot grid is not so dark that it doesn't affect my work so much. But this is just my practice. I love using the dot grid even in my journal. Okay, so let's do a cute ruler. What do? You can use a ruler here to make your ruler so it's so straight. But one thing to remember and to think about when you're doing any sort of doodles is a freehand type of drawing. This is something you do when you're just here to relax. Never put a lot of pressure on yourself when you're just practicing and when you're just doodling. You do doodle to relax, not to stress and overwhelm yourself. So try not to stress out too much. Make sure that you're in the right mindset right now. I want you to be just chill, and we're just going to play here. You and I are going to play, and we're just going to create something, and we're just going to have fun. Okay, so your ruler doesn't have to be straight, but in real life, we hope that a ruler is straight because we need a straight ruler. But in our doodles, we're not going to worry about that. So I'm just going to draw straight as I can. I bet you it's not straight, but that's okay. And then we're just going to draw another line. This is like a stretched rectangle, very long one. Okay, when I'm doing kawaii things, this is optional. You can do my style. I love everything like rounded. I love everything on the chubby side of things. I don't like it too skinny and too tall and not a lot of corners. So instead of one straight line, what I like to do is kind of like slanted, slightly slanted. You notice that it's not like one straight like this. So I kind of curve it just a little bit like that. Here we go. And then let's make another one that's like vertical. That again. And then I'm going to repeat the same process that's slightly slanted. Okay, like this. Now we're going to add a cute face, because what is a kawaii? Kawaii means cute in Japanese. And so it became a popular art, like a pop art. Who are the famous kawaii characters like Hello Kitty? It's so cute. And look how all of a sudden our cute ruler just cuter. Okay, then we just add lines over here. Like, make sure to give them equal spaces like that. As much as you can. No pressure, but I'm just adding lines over here. Okay, and how can we take the level of cuteness much, much higher? Let's add hands to our ruler. Like sticky hands, stick hands, just like that. Look how cute that is. Exactly, you're right, Jada. I was just going to say that. And the way I do my hands when I'm doing kawaii is just a small circle, just like this. I know, it's so cute. So if you want this a girl ruler, then we're going to put a bow like this. You can make your bow however you would like. That's my favorite bow. If I would do the bow bigger so you guys can see, kind of like a letter C, like that. And I would cross over this letter C over here and stop in the middle. Right? And then we're going to draw a big C again. And then a reversed C like this. I would just add lines like that. There we go. Okay, look at that, so cute. And what you can do is you can add cute faces like this. Ah, there's a blush on. Stop it, it's too cute. And then I'll color in the bow also. Sometimes the more less colors you use in your drawings, I don't know, for some reason, they just make it super cohesive. So instead of me adding too much colors in my ruler, sometimes I just like to leave it that way. So let's just leave the ruler that way. All right. Okay, what's next? Yes, absolutely. You guys are so good. All right, if that's a boy, I'm going to make another one. So let's make another ruler here. And then slightly slanted like that. And then let's make his eyes like squinting because he's so happy. Like that. And then jumping for joy, back to school. Hands. And then we're going to add the bow tie. Stop it. They're so cute. And add our lines. Ah, perfect. Really so cute. Okay, so pencil. I love drawing some pencils because I'm an artist, so I really like drawing like art supplies in my notebook. Even when I'm using my planner or my journal, I love creating my own cute little icons. So if you're going to draw a pencil, so let's draw 2 lines. But this one, instead of straight, it's kind of like much thicker on top and then thinner at the bottom. So you're thinking of it like a letter V like this, but you have wide open space. Okay, so we're going to close this in first, like a ruler, like that. Okay. And then over here, we're going to pull this one to meet in the middle, like that. And then we're going to put a line over here. So that's our pencil, right? And then over here, we're going to create like letter V's, small ones, very small, or an upside down V or a letter A without the line. I'm going to add another one. And then I'll add another one. All right. Okay, and then over here, from where the line started, from the end of our letter A or the point of our letter A, we're going to do a line from the top to the bottom, and that's going to end over there. All right. We repeat the same process over here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just have fun. Here we go. And draw. And then should do over here. I'm going to do this. So we have this big eraser over there. Now here you can use your imagination and you can add the cute face. If you'd like to have it here on top, you can add your cute face like that. Or you can add your face at the bottom. Repeat the same process. what we did. You can add the cute face at the bottom. So just make sure that where you want to add the face, you'll have enough space in there. So I should have made this a little thicker or a little wider so that I have enough space for the face, but that's good enough. All right, and so I can color this in yellow. I'm using the PITT Artist as well, but in just a different color. This is the 107. I love this color yellow. It's super bright and super saturated. And also, one good thing about the PITT Artist pens is that you can use this and not worry about any bleed through onto the next page of your notebook. So that's what I love about this, is I don't have to worry about it bleeding through into the next page. So you can color in your eraser part. You can use some colored pencils in here. I should have colored that pink. But there we go. The pens that I'm using is the brush tip. So this is not the soft brush, but this is just a regular brush one. All right, so we have the pencils. Now we can make a notebook. How can we make a notebook? Okay, so we're going to draw 2 lines like this. This is the brush Faber-Castell PITT Artist. Go. So you have 2 lines over here. We're going to repeat kind of like the ruler, but this one will have a much wider rectangle. So we have those, right? Now, this one, what we're going to do is we're going to go find the middle, right? No, don't write anything in there, but I just want to make sure, kind of like find where I can put in the title for my notebook like this. We're just drawing a smaller rectangle or a square, and then we're going to add like here circles, small circles. All right, 1, 2. Make sure you just have even space in between. Don't overthink it. Use your intuition. Okay. All right. So this time we're going to create this line. So I'm going to create this. It's kind of like a letter C, like that. And that's where we're going to put in the spring of our notebook. See that? So you start from where the middle of your circle is, and then you just do it like that. All right. Repeat that same process. Kind of like this. Do it like that. And then here, do it like this. And another one over there. If your circle is too big, go move again and create another notebook, and then repeat the process. All right. This time we're going to create the eyes are like letter U's. Look. And then we'll just put lashes. Lashes are my favorite when I'm drawing. They just make everything seem cuter. And then when my eyes are this big, I want to make sure that my mouth will not be too big. I make it just a little on the small side, like that. And then don't forget the blush. My favorite pink to use is the 129. This is like perfect pink for me. There. So if you want to turn this one into a cute girl, you can add a bow in there, and you can change up the bow. If you're like, I don't want to repeat the same bow, then we can make another bow like this one. Look, like a teardrop shape. And then just repeat that same process. And then a reversed one on the other side, just like that. And then repeat that and do that. right? And then look. So if I hope that you are noticing that when we're doing all of these doodles, we're using very basic, simple lines and shapes. It's just the way we're drawing things are just simple shapes. And we're putting those shapes together and we're creating an image. So you have this bow over here, and that's super duper cute. Or you can make your bow really simple, like a small circle like this, and then just like a triangle. See, and then just add your lines over there. So there's many different ways. There's no wrong, there's no right way to create a bow. As long as it looks like a bow, you're good to go. Right, so we have our notebook. This is our other bow. And then these are the other ones that we did. Okay, so now for the apple with the worm, that's really, really cute, by the way. We have to start this one. It's a little advanced, but we can do it for sure. We have to start with the worm. If I would draw this, I will start with a worm first. Let's zoom it out just a little bit so we make sure we have enough space, okay? All right, because if we draw a calculator, it's going to be the same as the notebook. If we draw a paintbrush or a crayon, it's going to look like it too. But let's start with the apple first. So if I were to draw this, I will start with my worm first, with the head, okay? So my worm would look like this. And I'm drawing much bigger so you guys can see the lines. Okay, this is a really big worm. Now we're going to draw. This is where you might want to use some pencil, and pencil's good. It's really good to start practicing with pencil also. But with doodles, I try not to use pencil too much because I'm just having fun and things are just simple. And we're going to draw like narrow circles for my eyes. On the other side also. And then, so we're just using very circle shapes in here. I'm going to add half circle on both sides of my worm, and I'm going to fill this one in, right? Okay, and then we can add a tiny mouth because our eyes are big. So I'm just going to make my mouth like this. And then you can choose to add your lashes if you'd like. How am I going to make this cuter? Instead of just a blush like that, I'm going to put a heart blush. Very simple details like this. You'll be amazed how much cuter your drawings can be. All right. Look at that. And we'll really have to fill this in later, but this time I want to make sure that I have enough space for my apple. So we can do it like that. I'm going to start. Apple is kind of like a letter C. The way I did my bow earlier, it's kind of like how I would draw my apple too, but of course much bigger and much wider over here on the side. So think of your shape. So my apple would be much thicker on this. I'd go on that side, all right? And then I'd repeat the same process, and I will stop where the worm is, and I'll just continue and meet over there. Look how slanted that was. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. One thing I always teach my kids is that it's okay. We can fix that. Okay, so we have that one, and I'm going to fill this in. All right, darker. This is one thing I love about the brush is because I can apply pressure and then I can fill in and create much thicker strokes. And so I can fill in a much bigger space in a small amount of time. Okay, like that. And then we can add, look how my lines are slanted. Everything's kind of slanted. I don't really like to draw in a very, very straight line like this. And then you can just start adding your leaves like this. I didn't have enough space over there. And don't be afraid to move your notebook around. If you're using a pad, don't give yourself a hard time by, warping your hands over here. Move your notebook. That's okay. You can move things around and that's fine if that's much easier for you. So find what's the easiest. You'll find this, you're much comfortable when I move my notebook to the left, or I'm much comfortable when I move my notebook to the right. So it is going to be up to you to find what works best for you. All right. But with practice and repetition, you really can find that best ways to draw or to letter. And then we'll add a cute mouth on the apple. I love to create like a big tongue like that for my apples like that. Look how cute. And you can do this and create a card. So give this to teacher on your first day, or for your children, or back to school, or create their notebook and stuff like that. So if I will turn this into a cover in my journal, I would just add like little tiny stars on the side just to make things cuter. And the rules of 3, I like to draw 3 of everything that I would make like tiny accents like this. So if I were to draw a heart, I would draw that heart 3 times like that. Simple. Like this. Super cute. Okay, so this time let's create a glue. Let's draw glue. Okay, so remember, everything in Kawaii is in that chubbier side. So we can make the glue like this. It's up to you, because everything will be your personal choice. This is going to be based on your creativity, on what you like and what you prefer. Or I like to make my glue a little bit on the chubby side. So repeat the same process, just a little wider. I would just stretch my slant lines just a bit wider than usual. And then I would close this in. I am applying really a lot of pressure to create that thick line over there, right? And this time I would enclose this. I would make those 2 lines on the side and close that in. So as you notice while I'm drawing, it's like one stroke after the other, one line after the other. I'm not trying to make one whole big shape or the whole shape of the glue right away. So just one line after the other. Create like that. So we're just going to create lines for this glue like that. All right, and then we can do this, that, and then you can add your cute face, or you can just letter the word glue in the middle. So cute. Even you can still draw the cute face and still write the word glue because we have enough space down here. And we can turn this into lines also if you want to create texture and add designs inside your drawing. You can create like small circles like this. I'd add one more over there and one more, like just to give it a little bit of interest. Or you can draw like hearts inside as a design of the wrapper of the glue or the packaging. So that's one way. All right, so now let's draw a paintbrush. Okay, so when you draw a paintbrush, you can make it like the brush would be at the bottom, or you can make it where the brush is on the top. So let's start first with this one. So I created the base of my paintbrush first, right? And then I would enclose this in again, like usual. And then this time, we're going to create the tip of the brush. See how just everything just kind of slanted? And then like that. It's kind of like making a fire also. So if you're making the flame of the candle, that's how I would do it as well. So everything's just similar. So the more you draw, the more you doodle, the more you notice your shapes and surroundings around you, and you say, oh, wow, yeah, it just looks exactly just like that. So just repeat that same process, and then that's it. You'll be drawing more shapes and more characters before you know it. So just always be perceptive around you, and just don't overcomplicate things in your mind, and just make it simple. How can I simplify this drawing? You know, the more simple it is, the more fun you're going to have, because you're not giving yourself a hard time when you're drawing. Okay, so we have our paintbrush. Now we can create it upside down. Repeat the same process for the body, like kind of like this one, right? And then I'm going to close this in. Make sure my lines meet. Over here, we can, okay, so now for the brush that's laying down, we can choose for the brush to be like here. You can do it over here. So this is going to be up to you. Since I make that mark, we're just going to make our brush like this, kind of like it's writing something. It's like really flattened, right? And then we're going to just add some lines on the inside, like this one. I started in the middle, just kind of following the shape of the brush, like this, and like that. And then we can pretend that there's like here, some, just remember those wiggly lines that we did earlier? That's it, like a puddle of color over there. So you can color this in, draw a cute face down there also. What I like to add is like, look at this. So you don't have to always just add cute faces. You can add a heart inside your drawing and just make it super extra cute. You can then, if I didn't add a face over there in my brush, I'll add a cute face over here. So that's it, super simple. And then let's create a palette over here. A palette would be an artist palette. You can make this into just a square one if you'd like. How I like to make it is kind of like slanted. Start with a letter C again. And then I would just make this like this. It's kind of like, it looks like a bean also, right? And then I would add a circle over here, because that's where the finger usually goes. And then I'm going to add like my wiggly lines for my paint, like really messy artist palette here. And then you can just color this in. So you know what you did? You just created your own coloring book. See how simple that was? That is super simple. So for the mommies that are watching here, you can really do this and create your own coloring book for your kids. And it makes it super special because it's your own drawing. They were like, what, did you make that? You made that. So you can just color this in, use different colors. We'll make it super fun. Yellow. There you go. Let's use purple. And then let's use a color. Yeah, that is super cute. Okay, so now let's draw a simple computer. How can we draw a simple computer? Super simple. Like, this is one of my favorite icons to draw in my journals because it's super easy. All right, so this one is going to be just a square shape, but as you noticed, everything is not straight. My square is still wider on top and then slightly, not much, slightly thinner at the bottom, like that. All right. Okay, and then I am going to add the base of my computer screen over here. And then this time we're going to follow along the shape. We're just going to draw another one of this shape, much smaller than the last one. And then this one, I made this straight instead of following that slightly curved. And then you can add a heart in here. Super cute. And then we can add a keyboard. Look at my lines, they're slanted. That. Paw print is such a great idea. And then this one. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a space in the middle here because of the space bar. So I'm not going to bring my lines all the way to the bottom, just over here. Like that. You can just add in your chords if you'd like, but everything seems to be wireless nowadays. I'm going to add a tiny mouse over there. Add your chord as well. And then you can create yes, it's an old-fashioned computer, a retro computer. I wonder if this kids know even what a retro computer is. Everything's tablet and laptop. And then you can just draw like cute ABCs on the inside. Okay, it's not going to fit. My ABC will not fit. I draw too big of an A. We'll make it fit though. Now remember, doodles or drawings, you're not restricted to just characters or images like this. You can draw your letters. You know, when you're lettering, you're actually not just handwriting is different from your hand lettering. I always tell this. Because basically, when you're doing hand lettering, you're basically drawing. You're drawing your letters. So I'm going to fill my lines in like that. So when you're hand lettering, you're actually drawing also. Just going to fill in that part over there. Okay, I think I'm going to close my letter B. I don't necessarily like that shape over there. There we go. Again, you can do this in color. You can add color, but I want it to be really where you can see it. So I'm using a black right now. There. Perfect. There you go. So we have that. Can create a drop shadow. So when you're doing like shadowing, see the orange is not showing up too much. When you're doing drop shadows in your letters, when you're doing lettering like this, choose one side. So I chose the left side of my letter, right? So this side of the letter, now I'm going to go on the left side of this letter over here. Here, left side also. So just choose one side, the left side of over here as well, like that. That way. And this one, not enough space over here on the side, and then this left side, and then this left side. But that's how you create some drop shadow on your computer. And another tip that I'd like to add. So for example, you want the screen to be blue, to be white, but there's no color white. There's no marker in white. I do have a white marker. PITT Artist has it in white, but if I'm going to use this in a white paper, that's not going to show up. So for me to create something that I know is going to be white on the inside, I like using a very, very light blue. And then just create a border around that space that I wanted to be white. Now your mind will tell you, wow, that is white. Look at that. All I did was added the blue, light blue on the outside and created that border and made this area over here entirely white. Something about our brain tells us that, hey, that is white. Okay, so I hope that this was fun. I had so much fun with the way we did our crayons, our pencils. You can create your crayons that way also. Simple, let's just do that because I love making crayons too. So this is the way we did our pencil. We'll just make this one meet in the middle. But this one was slightly different because, hey, this is not now, right? So what we did there is not going to work. So we did two first, like this. Okay. This time, close this part in right here. Okay. You want to close that part. And then we are going to create this tip. And the crayon tips are usually not pointy. So we want to make sure we have enough space to create the base of the crayon or the tip of the crayon, like that. There. I feel like I need more, so I'm just going to add a line over there. All right, and then add that. And then just that. All right, but that was it. That's our crayon. I had so much fun with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today for this fun class. I hope that you'll be able to join us again for the next one. Thank you, everybody. I hope that all of you will stay well. Please be careful. Have fun, stay creative, and stay happy. I'll see you guys in the next time. Bye, everybody. Bye.